I remember doing every song and how I came about them. And her being in the room and talking to her and getting to know her.
Ciao, everyone, and welcome to the second season of Madonna Songbook, the podcast about Madonna's music, her songwriting, and producing talent. I'm your host, Giulio Mazzoleni. I wrote a book about Madonna as a songwriter and producer. It covers all of her 500 songs, released and unreleased, at least those that we know of so far. I'm super proud of the community that has built around my book, the podcast, and the Instagram account Madonna Songbook, made exclusively by lovers of Madonna's music. For those who don't have the book yet, it's a limited run that won't be reprinted. So check the links in the description of this podcast or the link in bio in my Instagram account, Madonna Songbook. And thank you all for your feedback. Here we are, like on the book, once again, talking of Madonna's music and wanting to make some justice of her underrated talent in creating a fantastic musical world. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast so you get notified when new episodes come out. If you are watching this, the podcast is on Spotify and YouTube. If you're listening, it's on Apple, Podbean, and all other streaming platforms. Thank you to all those who watched and sent comments of appreciation for the first season. It was something completely new to me, and I'm blessed to be supported and loved so much. And obviously, it's because of Madonna's music that we all love so much. Now, let's start today's episode. Without further ado, let's leave the chatter behind. Let's take a journey into Madonna's songbook. Someone today is going to tell us a secret. So let the music take control. This podcast looks back on Madonna's vast catalog of music, lots of things from the past, but there is something very new at the moment. And that is Madonna's Bedtime Stories, The Untold Chapter EP, which has just been released with demos and unreleased tracks. To shed light on the songs of that EP, I've invited someone who was side by side with Madonna during the Bedtime Stories sessions in Atlanta and New York back in 1994. Guitarist Tomi Martin. Welcome, Tomi.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being the first guest of this new season. I
Hey.
am especially grateful to you because with the interview you've given me for my book, you've given me so many stories and so many interesting details on Madonna as a songwriter and producer and how the story came about and how you create music yourself. So
Yes.
the thought was, let's share it with the fans, even with a podcast, and let's have this conversation. Before we get into that, I would like to introduce you to the viewers and listeners. You were born in Kentucky, the son of a preacher and the nephew of a preacher, your uncle, who was a guitar player. And I believe
Right.
that is how you got fascinated by guitar and
Yes,
music,
yes. My
right?
Uncle George, yes. Uncle George Anderson. Before he became a preacher, he was the rhythm guitar player with Wes Montgomery.
And you were
Yeah.
fascinated by him as a musician?
Yeah, it was like seeing him. I remember being little and going to church and seeing him sit over there and play this instrument and the sounds that it would make and the way it would make me feel and watching a lot of television. I grew up watching a lot of, like every child, television, cartoons and shows, but I was always drawn into this sound, this guitar sound. So when my uncle was doing it, it was fascinating because I thought it was only on television, and on the radio. So I watched him do it, and I used to look at his fingers, sit there and stare at his fingers like that. I had no clue what he was doing, but I didn't know I was actually learning as it was going
Isn't
on.
that fantastic?
Yeah.
When a child's brain is focused, it is
Oh
so
yeah.
powerful. So
Yeah.
many cells
Hmm.
absorbing information, and they
Definitely.
imprint all of our life.
Definitely. Yeah.
Cut to the future, you became one of the most appreciated guitarists in America. You worked with Outkast, you worked with Michael Jackson on the History album, and you also worked with
Hmm.
Madonna. You played with Prince. What are the few things that make you most proud of in your career?
What in my career, what I'm most proud of is the fact that I did it all honestly.
Mm.
There was no, nepotism or no weirdness or no strangeness. I just was honestly fascinated with playing music. And I just wanted to travel, first of all. I wanted to get around. And I just wanted to be true to what I was hearing because I don't read music. I can't read charts. I don't
Mhm.
know what I'm playing. So I only play by my heart and by my feel. And it makes me feel good when suddenly somebody goes, "Oh yeah, you're the guy that did such and such," or I'll be out somewhere and I'll hear a song come on the radio and it'll be me. And it's still a trip because I'm like, wow, man, that's me on this record, whatever. But that makes me feel good. That makes me feel
That's a
good.
privilege. You should be proud
Yeah.
of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. And before we get into your Madonna experience, your direct experience, what was your listener experience? How did you perceive her initially before you met her?
Before I met her, like when she first came out, of course it was on, MTV, whatever.
Mm.
That's when I first visually saw her, because I listened to everything. So she probably crossed my path a couple of times, but I visually saw her. And it was fascinating to me because I was like, wow, this person seemed real. It didn't seem like it was made up or like it was over the top or everything. I believe that that's how she lived every day. And I'm fascinated with the early 80s and stuff like that in New York,
Mm.
the village in New York and all that, because I'm a big, Basquiat fan and, you know, um Andy Warhol, because, I was an artist for a while and all that. And she was in the middle of all that stuff. She was in the middle of all that stuff, with Blondie and all the things that were happening in New York. And I was just like, wow, if I can get out of here, I could probably meet somebody like that, but I didn't think it was going to happen, you know.
So you were a visual artist before
Yeah,
besides being a
yeah,
musician in the beginning?
yeah. I was drawing and painting and doing a whole bunch of art. I just did that for fun,
Mm.
I just did it for fun. And then, I got like every kid sitting around. But while I was doing it, I was listening to music.
Mm.
I was hearing, I was hearing the Beatles, and I was hearing, you know, Madonnas and the Michael Jacksons, and there was a lot of in my house. We weren't allowed to listen to secular music, so
Wow.
there was a lot of gospel music. So I was hearing all this gospel music, so I had to sneak and listen to secular music. I had to turn my headphones when I finally got some, put them real low and put them on and listen like this because we weren't allowed to until later on, until I was like 16, something like that. Yeah.
Fast forward to spring 1994, Madonna decides to make a new record and do it R&B style, and she chooses, out of suggestion from Babyface, to work with
Yeah.
Dallas Austin. She comes to
Right.
Atlanta and works with him,
Hmm.
who is fresh from the success of Crazy Sexy Cool, the amazing
Yeah.
TLC album, which you also played on, and
Hmm.
comes to Atlanta. And he hires you as usual because you were his main reference guitar
Right.
player,
Right.
Colin
Yeah.
Wolfe as a bass player, his
Yeah.
sound engineer, and summons you all to his studio without even telling you who the record is
Hmm.
for.
Had no clue. I walk in because he calls me all the time. I was like, his number one session guitarist. So it was nothing. He would be like, "Yo, man, we're in tonight at 10 o'clock." I said, "Okay." But this session actually started at his house this time. And he's like, we're gonna start at my house with this one. I said, okay. So I come over there and I've got my guitars and I'm, ready to work going, what are we gonna do? And there's this woman sitting in the corner with like a Adidas tracksuit on, blue with the stripes on. This little tiny lady, she's sitting on the stool and she's writing like this, and I didn't even recognize her. And he's like, yeah, man, we're working on this song, this. I was like, oh, that's Madonna over there. And then she looked up, I was like, oh my gosh, She's like, hey, heard a lot about you. I was like, yeah, I heard a lot about you too. And it was Madonna. And we started working that day. I think we worked for a few weeks, so just on different things, just hanging out. She's so nice, so cool, so down to earth, because she wants to feel the people she's working with.
Mm.
She doesn't want somebody to just throw something at her like that. And we kind of hit it off. We were cool with each other. We were real cool.
You were not just a sessionist.
Yeah, yeah. It was more like we became friends. After
Nice.
that, we started talking about the type foods we ate and, the places we would go. And she knew that I was fascinated with what she was doing and, living in New York and all that kind of stuff. And she knew I had a dream of doing something big, something further away or whatever, So we just kind of like, talked about sushi and, things like that.
That is, well, I think that started off with the right food. I understand the first song you worked on was Sanctuary, a song she brought on from someone who had pre-written and Madonna had altered it. What was the experience on that song?
The experience with that was, I heard the track and I heard the emotion of what she was trying to do. And she told me, I want you to do something think about something in your past that's really close to your heart and you're crying out about it. And she said, and I want it to be, Jimi Hendrix meets, and all this kind of stuff. But the track led to that. It felt like that anyway. So she told me, just go bananas. Just play whatever you want to play. And I did like about 4 or 5 takes of just me making sounds and making my guitar speak and making it talk and making it feel and go along with this song. And the end product was Sanctuary, Wow. And it felt good. It felt good.
It's a very sad song. Recently, I ran a poll with the followers of Madonna Songbook on Instagram about their favorite song of the album, and incredibly, the saddest song on the album, Sanctuary and Love Tried to Welcome Me, turned out to be the most popular.
Really?
And people really appreciate the atmosphere, and that is a very intimate and deep song. The kind of it's a foresight onto Ray of Lights, some of those songs where she went extremely intimate, and it's really beautiful. But that was written before, whereas from that point on, you were there when she was writing songs. What was your impression of Madonna as a songwriter and then as a producer?
As a songwriter, she's very honest. Like, if she hears something, she always has a pad in her hand. And she'll sit around and, we're going through whatever. And I may play something like with Freedom. I was just tuning my guitar. And I play a little riff to make sure I tune and make sure I'm in tune. And she goes, "What is that? What is that?" I said, "Nothing, man. I'm just." She said, "Keep playing it. Keep playing it." And so she started writing. And then she said, "Okay, turn the mic on." And everybody in the room was like, "What is she doing?" Like that. We're supposed to be working on something else. And suddenly she shifted over to this. And this song came out, and I wound up playing guitar. She wound up singing to the guitar, and nothing else was down except the tempo. And the backgrounds, the sha-da-da-da, that's me calling in Dallas, because we didn't know what to do. Something needs to go here. So Dallas said,
improvising.
Yeah, we were just improvising like that. And next thing I know, the song was done, and she goes, "Okay, put it away now. What were we doing?" Like that. And I was like, okay, It was like that a lot. It was like that a lot.
That song was put away for a long time until she put it out years later, and now it's beautiful how they have brought it back. But I think the story tells a lot, because a lot of people perceive even today Madonna as someone who creatively is very calculated. And I always explain, and I'm grateful with the interviews I've done with you and with my whole research in my book to have proven that in the visual world, there is no improvisation. Everything is meticulously calculated. You don't see movies being improvised. There's improvised theater, but that's different.
Right.
In the visual world, you have to be calculated. Whereas with making pop music, you have to be spontaneous and you have to be honest. Otherwise, it's perceived as contrived. And this is a perfect example. Now, the main song on those recording sessions, which is something extremely beautiful, that was even, although Madonna was coming from one of her masterpieces, Erotica, and before that, there was Like a Prayer, so 2 great albums, she was one step forward again in her songwriting and producing with her first guitar-led song, Secret.
Yeah, I didn't expect that either. She was singing, and I was just going along with what she was singing. I think Dallas had the drums and maybe the bass done already. So she wanted an intro. She wanted, we were starting the song, and I played along with her on the intro. I hear the keys, I hear the chords because I play by ear, so I hear what she's singing, and we cut the song, you know, and there were things happening here and there, and all that. So the record finally comes out, and I hear it, and my mind is blown because the intro is just she and I. I was like, oh my gosh, she just pulled it out so you could hear the guitar, and then it went into whatever, but that was her improvise. That was her thinking, oh, it needs a good setup. It needs, to have this feel to tell the story.
Okay, so if I get it right, she started by bringing together creative input, hers, Dallas, yours, and then they would put things together. But when it came to the mixing, she realized what was the power of the song, and she muted the drums, she muted the strings, and had the song start honestly voice guitar. And that was the big revolutionary step for Madonna compared to her previous songs. She had never done something acoustic. She had never done something so straightforward and stripped down. So again, as a producer, that's when her intuition came. It's not pre-calculated. You were creating, right?
She heard it. She sees and visualizes things all the time. And then she told me the solo in the back part or whatever. So I'll go to reach for my other guitar because the
electric one.
Yeah, my electric. She goes, no, use that one. I was like, what are you talking about? She said, just plug that one into the wire. Use that one. I had never done it in my life. Yes, that's an acoustic into a Y. That's not an electric. Because she said, that one, I like it. It sounds good. Just play that one. So, she's the artist. And I did it. And I listened back to it. And I was like, wow, that does sound cool. I never would have thought of that. I never would have thought of it.
Technically, you wouldn't have done that, but it turned out to work.
You don't plug acoustics into pedals like that, especially a Y pedal. That's for electric. Yeah, but Madonna liked the way it sounded. And it turned out really good.
That's awesome as a collaboration. Also, in terms of creating that song, after we've talked for my book, I had the privilege of going to Washington at the Library of Congress, where there is a lot of 1970s, 80s, and 90s copyright deposit files. Sometimes it's paper, sometimes it's tapes. And I managed to listen to early demos of sessions Madonna abandoned before working with Babyface, Dallas Austin, and Dave Gemol. And there was a song that turned out to become Secret, but essentially she just took from her own creation the melody and words from the verse, whereas the bridge, Happiness Lies in Your Own Hand, and the chorus was a new creation she came up with. So even her intuition, a lot of people say that when she writes a song in the studio, she's checking her notebooks where she has all of her sketches or getting quotes and influences, and then sketches right away the new lyric and structures the song. So it's incredible how this song came to be.
I didn't know that. And I'm really proud because the bridge were chords that I made up. There was no music there yet. She was singing it, and it needed to change. So I played a bridge, or I played some chords, and it stayed. I'm always happy when things stay. Yeah, I'm always happy when things stay.
And that's such a special song. It's incredible how she started with a demo that was quite sensual, sexy, dance-oriented, and it turned into something extremely spiritual and soulful and extremely meaningful by using some of the same words. So
exactly.
The way you can read the subtext, the way you can read a song is multiple, and it can lead to many other
similarities.
things.
It depends on how you read. I'm always surprised when I hear it when I'm out somewhere. I'm always like, oh my God, I really did that. Tom, you're playing with it still bugs me out. I'm still excited as a kid when I hear myself,
Yeah, I understand. That's fantastic. One of the songs that came out in the EP that revealed something new is the demo from Don't Stop, because we've known it as Daniel Abrams finished it, but it was a last-minute replacement of another song in the album. So we finally got to hear how the demo was when Madonna left it off, I would say, at writing stages, and that is Don't Stop. You're in it. Have you heard this new version or
Yeah, I
early
did.
version?
I did
Hmm.
hear the new version. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's different. You always have to listen. You get used to hearing one thing a certain way. So I had to hear it, and I got where they were coming from. It sounds cool to me. Sounds cool.
I'm
Hmm.
grateful that we heard it because it gives us a vibe of what you are just talking about, of four people
Hmm.
in the room putting together a bass line, a guitar, some strings, a drum loop, and Madonna throwing in her singing, which is why that song is very streamlined to verse, chorus, verse, chorus. It doesn't have much
Right.
else. Probably
Right.
she would have developed it later on, but she decided for something else, and then she pulled it out. And as Daniel Abram told me in the interview for my book, Dallas and you guys and the team were not available, and it was time to deliver
Hmm.
the album. So she commissioned it to him, who had done amazing remixes, radio remixes for Fever and Rain the year before. So he finished that up with his own vision, but this leads back to it, and it's very chic oriented. It's very Nile
Yeah,
Rodgers.
yeah, man. That's one of my heroes when I was coming up. Nile Rodgers was like one of the guys that I listened to a lot. And I always get, people think I look like, when I had dreadlocks, we looked a whole lot alike. People thought we were brothers. But I just listened to Nile, and it had that feel, that chic feel about it.
Hmm.
So I started thinking to myself, what would Nile play? What would make it feel like something that Nile would do? And I
And it
started playing
belonged
that.
to her. She did Like a Virgin with him, and she grew
Yeah,
up in the clubs with his music. So it felt like a continuation of a discourse. She's really fascinated by 1970s.
she liked Niles playing. I know she liked it because it complemented what she was doing. So I
Mm.
was like, let me kind of fall in that vein a little bit and make it sound like that. And it turned out good. It turned out good. Yeah.
Now, what I call a sister song to Don't Stop is the song that got kicked out of the album last minute and was released a few years later, Your Honesty, that was
Yeah.
completed. And I thought it was an amazing song, but some
Yeah. I like
choices
that song too.
you don't understand,
But you
maybe.
know what? It's very similar to Don't
Mhm.
Stop.
So it's
That,
either one or the other. Exactly.
yeah, they were probably like, which one we're going to keep? Because they do kind of feel alike. They're not the same, but they feel alike. And I could see where they would do that.
Can you remember working on that song with her?
Yeah, yeah, I do. A lot of that was a blur until I got out of it. And then I realized some of the things we were doing because we were kind of like moving. I was bouncing back. When I was working with Madonna, I was bouncing back and forth with Michael Jackson.
Wow.
So I was kind of like flying out doing that and then flying over here and playing with her and then flying back and doing that. It was like I was really busy. So I remember doing the songs and trying to make sure that I didn't have a session player approach to it. I wanted to live in the song because I know she's very, very personal about what she writes and what she says. So I didn't want to just give her the generic, okay, here you go, buy, it costs this much. So, if I remember doing every song and how I came about them, and her being in the room and talking to her and getting to know her. And then sometimes I was around Lourdes when she was small. And Lourdes was like this toddler who was fascinated. She might come and pluck my guitar or something, and run over it. But all that adds to how I play. All that
Because
adds to how I play.
you worked with Madonna even later after Bedtime Stories. You were on
Yeah.
promo tours for Ray of Light, so
Yeah,
her
yeah.
daughter was around.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
She was
cute.
around, and when we did like the Oprah Winfrey show, she was there, and we did Little Star because she had written Little Star about her and all that. Yeah, and it was just like a family thing, man. She's like a relative. She's like a relative of mine.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I like your honesty because it seems to be extremely spiritual about Madonna, the way she speaks of most of her songs can be taken as generic pop love songs, but she uses
Right.
that code to to hide or to pair other meanings, other stories, a subtext.
Yeah.
And I mean, when she talks about honesty in a love affair, at least when I was 21, I was quite struck because you would guess it's eyes, face,
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
parts.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what.
And it's your honesty.
It's your honesty. It's your
And
and
the
I like
beautiful calls and answer of that song really, it reminded me of something extremely intense and personal, like you said.
mhm, personal, very personal. And I feel like if you take all the music away and you just read her lyrics, you would go, oh, if a person did that, because you get caught up in the music and you're in the club or you're in your car or whatever. But she's writing some very deep, meaningful things. She's writing some stuff that appeals to everybody and relates to everybody. Their relations,
Very
you know.
relatable. And I
Mhm.
know this podcast is about celebrating Madonna, but I have to say something I'm not happy with, and that is that after Ray of Light, I think, yeah, from music onwards, she stopped putting the lyrics on the booklets over CDs, whereas I think she's an excellent lyricist and should
Yeah,
take pride in that and share it more often.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
That's
Anyway, the third sister of that group of songs is the one that we just discovered this last few weeks. It's Right on Time, again with a 1970s vibe. This is something completely new that we didn't know of, that I had found
mhm.
out in the copyright library as just an entry. And we were all wondering what that song was about. I know that probably she demoed other songs with you guys, but this one we finally found out and it has been released. What's your take on that? What memories did that bring back?
Actually, to be honest, it was one of the songs that was done, and we were kind of like, okay, we finished that. Let's keep going. We didn't really think a lot about it because I don't think she had it hashed out in her mind yet. Like she had ideas. She had, you always put down ideas when you start because you don't want to lose them. Nowadays, we take our phone, we have voice messages and everything.
Right.
So, she just put it down and we did the best that we did with it and then moved on, kind of like moved on. But I knew she would circle back. I knew she would circle back, you know.
Eventually, 30 years
Yeah.
later.
Oh, yeah, she's going to circle back. So you still do your best work and you try to understand where she's coming from to the best of your ability at that moment, you know. And then after that, it's on her, you know.
It's true. It does sound like a song that was left at writing stages and
Yeah, yeah. Like
finished
it
up.
wasn't quite fully developed completely.
Obviously, there's something brighter in the album. By the way, this song is quite cheerful, happy. So is Don't Stop, so is Your Honesty, so is
Hmm.
Secret. What is your memory of Madonna's mood in those sessions? Because she was coming from a very sad album like Erotica, where most of the songs were about difficult relationships and difficult subjects and the exploration
Hmm.
of sexuality. In this one, she was more romantic. Was she happy? Was she in a positive
She was
mood?
extremely happy. She seemed happy to me. She seemed like, she had come out of a fog, like a person that had come out of something and they were enjoying where they were in life, what they were doing in life. She was happy with, her family, her friends. And she wasn't letting anything like mess with it, knock on it and mess with it.
She
She
was in
seemed
the
really happy.
place. She was present
Yeah.
to herself, which is great because she was in the middle of the sex backlash. She was being punished every day
Right.
on national
Right.
TV.
Yeah,
When,
yeah.
like when you were doing those sessions, she went on the infamous Letterman TV show
Yeah.
and cursed several times. And she was being playful, but she was taken too seriously and misunderstood. So she also wrote bitter songs like Human Nature. But most of the songs she did
Hmm.
with Dallas Austin, I thought they were extremely like, unless with the occasional sad song like Sanctuary, there was a general vibe to it, and I'm glad you confirmed it. Also, a fun
Yeah.
story when she came to Atlanta for the celebration tour last year. Dallas Austin was in the front row, and she told the whole audience a story that she was trying to seduce him, but it was having none of that. And she was even
I thought,
consulting a card reader, a tarot reader, and or trying
yeah,
to do some voodoo on him, but he was not into it. And she was like, damn, I want that man. And she couldn't
I
have
want
him.
that man. He won't act right. Yeah.
So
That's funny.
it's
Yeah.
great that it reflects her own real mood of that time.
Hmm. Yeah.
But one song that seems light and instead is very serious and introspective is Survival, the song about
Love it.
rejecting all the negativity and making a barrier to protect herself and saying, I'll never be an angel, I'll never be a saint. It's true, but this is my story, this is my life, this is who I am. And it became a recurrent theme in other songs in her career, like the song Like It or Not. But with this one that she chose to open the album with, she was literally cutting with the past and saying, whatever happened, I am protecting myself. The
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
thing of the demo that has just been released is that it's before Neely Hooper put his hands on it, before Nikki and Donna sang
Hmm.
their vocals on it. It's raw, it's more intimate, it's very TLC. I guess
Yeah.
probably she didn't want to sound like a ripoff of their
Too
work,
close. Right.
but
Right.
it's very yours. You can also hear more your guitar. What are your memories of that song?
I remember thinking the riff that I play had to feel like it didn't. I didn't want it to feel sappy,
Mhm.
like sappy happy. Like something about it. It sort of had a Nile Rodgers feel to it, but it was a groove. It was a really deep groove that felt good. That you had. I wanted to sit in and make sure that it was a memorable guitar part. That's why I
Okay.
play the one dun, 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 because it's memorable, And what she was singing about, I felt like we were a bunch of people like marching down the street, like a parade of just me, her, Colin, and Dallas, and we're
And
like
she's singing her
proclaiming that,
manifesto.
yeah, it's a manifesto, and we're proclaiming we're here, and that's the
Beautiful.
way it's going to be. Yeah, and we're happy, and we survived. We made it. We made it out this. Whether you like it or not, I'm not going anywhere. So that was the vibe I got from the music and from what she was writing. Because I listen to lyrics because I'm around songwriters and stuff all the time. So I have to listen to lyrics, and lyrics help me decide what to play.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really
Yeah, they help
not
me decide
not
what
everybody does that.
Yeah. Some people just play because they can play, but I have certain sounds and certain riffs that I play because of what the lyrics are saying.
That's
Mhm.
fantastic. That makes you even a better guitarist, honestly. A better
Well, I
musician.
hope so.
I'm
Because
sure that's why she
some things
appreciated
you
it
have
so
to
much.
feel.
You also did let down your guard, but I'd like to move on, remaining on the subject of Survival, the fact that she called you for other sessions she was having for other producers. So she took you away from Dallas. She liked you so much. And she called you for the session she was having in New York with Dave Jamhall, who was coming
Dave Jam
from
Hall, yeah.
Mariah Carey and I think Mary J. Blige, a few other
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
quite mysterious. Not many people know about him. I tried to do research on him. It's very difficult. He's not public. He's not on
Right,
social
right.
media and so forth.
Mhm.
But first of all, you got to play Human Nature. You did I'd Rather Be Your Lover and Love Tried to Welcome
Mhm.
Me. How did it work? Did she call you for one whole session, or did she call
She
you
called me,
for?
told me to come to New York and hang out and work on some music. And I didn't
Okay,
know who I was going to be working with.
okay.
I think Dallas might have been there one day or something, but most of the Dallas stuff was in Atlanta. And she
Hmm.
just wanted me to come up and work with Dave, and we had crossed paths, but we hadn't really met before.
Mm.
And Dave is very open, and he was very trusting of me. He's like, "Oh, do what you do. You know, I know what you're feeling. I was doing, I trust you. You do this, whatever." But the songs were easily done because they were really good songs. They were really good songs,
In
and I
Human
was
Nature, it's not a
human nature.
sample. It's your guitar, right? What did you
It's
play?
me. Yeah, it's me playing. I was playing through this little thing called a Zoom, and it's a little, gadget or whatever. But I also understand by working with producers, things like I play like a songwriter. So when you play, you have to have hooks.
Mhm.
When you play, things that come back, things that come back. That's what makes people remember. You know, oh yeah, that makes them lock into it. So I was playing hooky type lines.
Mm.
You know, I'm down, dun, just certain things that people would subliminally hear,
Hmm.
but it was also out front. And I had no idea what the visual was going to be like. And then when I saw the video, I was like, oh, good, I did it right. Perfect. That's exactly what it was supposed to do. And in Love Tried to Welcome Me, once again, she said, Tommy, I want you to give me this really melancholy type feel because it was so lush and big. And then so I played a nylon guitar on it because I felt like that would feel safer and sweeter to go along with all the other instrumentation and for what she was saying
And
and
that
what
was a
she was
first
doing.
for you on nylon, right?
Yeah, that was the first time I didn't even own a nylon. And she told me to bring one. She said, do you play nylon? And in this industry, you never say no. I go, yeah, sure, I play nylon, like that. And she said, okay, well, bring your nylon with you. And I ran to a pawn shop, I think, and bought a nylon really fast. And I sat down with it the night before I had to fly out. And then I said, okay, here goes, and it worked out. It worked out.
It's
And
so
now you can,
beautiful. It's so
yeah,
beautiful.
it works. I love the guitar. It
The
wasn't even,
song, that song has an amazing beat and the strings are really amazing, but
yes,
it's
the
definitely
strings
the
are
guitar
absolutely,
that sings along with her. It's really something. It's a pair. You're
yeah,
together in that. And it's a great and profound song. Madonna quotes poets and novels in that song, and at the same time tells the story she has conjured up. She has invented watching a stripper performing in a lap dance or a pole dance club in Miami and
right,
seeing her very
right.
sad as a performer, and she came up with that song. So you put that inspiration together with the poetry and the novel's quotes and your nylon guitar and Dave Jamal and her idea, and it becomes like a movie. That
It
song is
does.
so
Yes, yes,
evocative.
yeah. It's very, very. It's like when I heard the line "Love tried to welcome me," but my soul drew back, and I was like, "Okay, I know what I'm gonna play." I know the vibe I need to be in because I've been there. I've been there.
You too. You found
Yeah,
something that related to you.
right. I found something related to me, and I knew how I wanted it to feel and how I wanted it to be. And I knew it had to be sparse, sort of sparse, because you don't want to overplay something like that. You want the message to get across. And a lot of musicians lose that. Songs are messages. I don't care if it's hip hop or whatever, rock and roll or whatever. You don't want to get in the way of whatever the message is that's coming across. So you play along with it and you help put that message out. Right. Hmm.
Beautiful. And one last song, I think it's I'd Rather Be Your Lover, because you didn't play on the Babyface song. So there's this,
No, I didn't play on that one that I could think of. No, I think Face played. He
okay,
played on it. You
if
know.
there is any guitar on them.
Yeah.
But and Inside of Me doesn't have guitars either. But I'd Rather Be Your Lover, again, is 1970s, The Temptations, oh, these beautiful vocal layers. What was your contribution to that?
My contribution to I'd Rather Be Your Lover.
It's the one with the
Well,
Michelle Giocello bass,
yeah,
which is
yeah.
super
It was
groovy.
it was such a hard, funky groove, man. It felt so good. And Michelle was there,
Oh,
and of course I can't come in half stepping with Michelle because she's amazing. But the groove was really so good that I had Sly Stone flashbacks in my mind.
mm,
I started thinking like Sly and the Family Stone and stuff like that. So it had to move with what, because I worked with Michelle one time here in Atlanta. When I heard that song, the tracks coming back, I was like, oh, Tom, you got to lay into this, but you can't, you got to ride along with what Michelle's playing.
mm.
It had to be that kind of thing. Like y'all just got a phone together. And that's what it
Well,
turned into.
And to come full circle, I just remember, by the way,
Mhm.
Michelle and Jocello recorded a cover version of TLC's Waterfalls for World AIDS Day a few years ago. So
Yeah.
you're all in the same
Yeah,
circle, in the
yeah,
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's all
It's
all
beautiful. Check it out on Spotify. It's really amazing. And finally, oh, by the way, I'm seeing a great platinum disc, I mean
oh
plaque
yeah,
behind your back that some
yeah.
collectors might want to steal from your house. Don't share your address, please. It's it's beautiful. People would want to own it. Also, that beautiful session with Patrick de Marchelier generated the cover of the album. And
Hmm.
there's a beautiful story. I don't know if you know about it. There's the upside down version, the right
Right,
side
right.
up version.
No, I
It's
didn't notice that. I never knew that.
there's a long story. It starts from a photo that was shot on a bed in Miami. So
Hmm.
this is the way the photo was shot. But
Right.
then the album came out reversed upside down because of marketing reasons. Obviously, the face would read better. But then
That's crazy.
there's so much debate whether this was a mistake or not. It wasn't. I'm showing cassettes because this is the original cassette I bought in 1995 at the LA Virgin store in summer 95 because on the plane from New York to LA, somebody stole my Walkman and my cassette. And I
No,
couldn't leave without Madonna's album
yeah,
around
right.
this day. So I bought a new Walkman and I bought that. And I found out there was a different cover.
I
And in
never knew that. I
America,
never.
as a second edition, for a short time, there was this version, which some fans consider to be the right version just because the original photo was turned upside down,
Yeah,
had
I
her
know
face
when we
down.
were touring
Hmm.
the laminates and everything, and
Yeah, that
I
were
think it was
given
the
out
upside. Yeah, yeah. I never thought about that. I never saw that. Yeah.
because let's finish on a happy note. You also sang with Madonna on TV, didn't you?
Yeah, in my dreams, I sang with Madonna. No, actually, I had to do a duet with her because Babyface couldn't show up, and it was in Germany on a show called Wetten Das. Yeah. So another one of Madonna's last minute calls. My phone rings. I go, "Hey, what's happening?" She goes, "Tommy, do you know the lyrics to what's the name of the
Take a
song? I can't
bow.
think. Yeah, Take a Bow. You know, Take a Bow." I said, "Yeah, I've heard it. I got it. You know, pretty much." She said, "Well, go ahead and learn that, man, because I need you to sing that when we get to Germany. I'll see you when you get here." Click. I was like, I don't sound like Babyface. What is wrong with? But fortunately,
Hmm.
we were lip syncing.
Okay, yeah, as
You
it
know,
happened on TV in the 90s,
yeah. Because
especially in Europe.
so she brings me there, and I learned the lyrics on the flight on the way there. You know, and all that. And I get my little acting skills together. And the type person Madonna is, I'm sitting back here with the band, you know, and everything. And she's right. She's go, no, we got to move him up front. So she moves me right next to her up front. So suddenly, I'm doing a duet with Madonna.
On the
You know,
biggest German TV show in
on
Europe.
the biggest German, and a lot of the people thought it was me that sang it. So they thought I was Babyface. You know, I actually had to sign some autographs, Babyface, because I didn't want them to be disappointed. I couldn't put Tomi Martin. So I'm trying, oh, could you sign? Could you sign like that? And in the very end, if you look closely, we turn around and we bow to each other like this. That was my idea. And we're trying our best to keep from laughing because she didn't know what happened. She's like, "Oh my God, what is wrong with this man?" Because it was hilarious
Hilarious being babyface for a moment.
Yeah, I was like, "Me? Okay,
An
sure." And
imposter.
then it goes down in history. I'm like, yeah."
Yeah. But you also got your own spotlight when you did the Ray of Light promo tour, and especially with The Power of Goodbye. You had that
Yeah.
beautiful scarf on your head on every TV show, and she made
Oh
sure
yeah.
you would get your close up when there was the guitar at the end of the song.
She's gonna do that. That's what I love about her. She's gonna always make sure that whoever's doing something being featured, that you're gonna get a shot. She doesn't want the camera on her all the time. It's
Hmm.
because, she will do a show and we'll film it and then she'll go look at it. And she'll be like, "Why are you he's soloing. Don't look at me. Do this, do this, do that." And she'll fix it. Then we'll go and do it. And I love her for that, man. She's she's the one that made me start paying attention to my nails. You know, she's like, Tommy, your fingernails should always be done and everything because the camera's going to zoom in on them. And I never thought about that. I was like, you know what? She's right. You know,
What
she's
a
very
talent.
meticulous and pays attention to detail. Yeah.
Exactly. Especially, not just for herself, but also for her musicians. So she was looking around,
Right. She's
because
hands
everything
on.
reflects onto the artist, but she also cares about the people around.
Yes.
Isn't that beautiful? Well,
Yeah.
that is fantastic. What are you up next to? What is your current or future project?
Oh man, I've been doing a lot. I've been in the studio a lot lately, working with Usher Raymond on his new record. I'm working with this producer called Dream
Mm-hmm.
on the stuff he's doing, and I just finished a record with Teddy Swims and Summer Walker. Worked on that. I worked with Kalani on something, and actually, I'm working on. I did a record on a remix of an artist that I can't mention really.
Okay.
You'll be the first person I tell, but it's put it this way. That artist is the reason I left Kentucky. I wanted to work with that artist.
Oh, wow.
And then that artist moved overseas, got married, and never came back.
Okay.
But
So you
I
got
had
your
to do,
chance eventually.
yeah, and her original vocals.
Wow.
I had to calm down
So we
because they
have
would come back.
look out for. Will you put it on Instagram? Will you let your followers know when it's ready and
Oh
out?
yeah, I'll let everybody know. I'll let everybody know. You know,
Okay.
I
So
don't want to jinx
everybody follow
it.
Tomi on his Instagram.
Yeah, my Instagram, but yeah, just working, doing stuff like that. You
Great.
know, in the studio. I just came back from the Outcast. They got put into Rock and Roll Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm.
and they flew me out, and I went and hung out with them and did all that, and just being a musician, man, and being human.
That's the most important. Living
That's
our
the most
life,
important part. Yeah,
living a
being
life at the
human.
fullest possible.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tomi, for this chat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Everybody listening and watching, please stay tuned as we will discuss again a few more details about the untold chapter of Bedtime Stories. But for the meantime, thank you, Tomi. Thank you so much. It's been great meeting you and being in contact with you all through these months. It's beautiful to exchange
Yeah,
emails now
man.
and
I'm
then.
like,
I love to
I
keep in
know
touch with you.
somebody overseas. Hey, I got friends. And I don't know if I did or not, but thank you for the book, man. I wanted to make sure I said that. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate it.
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it, man. I loved it. I was so glad when I got a copy. I was like, yes, it's down in my studio.
And I'm glad I gave a page to you and your stories because I found beautiful people on the way of writing this book, and I wanted to acknowledge that.
Cool.
So thank you. Thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say a few words about the Bedtime Stories, the Untold Chapter EP, and the recent releases, because a lot of followers have been asking my opinion, and I'm very grateful for that. Recently, I had a wonderful experience to have a release party and a live podcasting with my friend Edward Russell at Inside the Groove, along with Jonathan and Peter, and we had a wonderful chat at the London Royal Vauxhall Tavern. Without Royal. Sorry about that. Anyway, it was a wonderful event. And it was a royal event for Madonna fans. And we really enjoyed it. And I loved meeting a lot of the followers and people who knew about my book, wanted to buy my book. It was a wonderful experience. And here again, I would like to share my thoughts because there has been a lot of debate. I like to keep things positive generally. We had been complaining for a long time that Madonna was not doing justice of her catalog. There are artists that have been looking back at their repertoire for a long, long time. Madonna has finally started to do that with Veronica Electronic EP and this Untold Chapter EP. And as we know, she has a deal with Rhino at Warner Bros. To revisit her catalog, which in my opinion will happen in a more solid way once her project for her movie about her life, biopic or whatever you want to call it, will come out. I think it would be a right time for her to put out remasters of her albums and more unreleased stuff. But in the meantime, she's making us happy with things. And obviously, it can never be perfect. It can never be everything. If you look at the Prince estate, the way they're re-releasing all of his albums, there is 7 CDs editions, and still some of his fans are going like, that song is missing, that version is missing. So it's never going to be perfect. I'm not too happy with the way Love Won't Wait sounds. I think the mix, personally, I would have done it differently, but who am I to do that and to say that Stuart Price should have done things differently? It's artistic choices. Also, Madonna signed off everything. Now, for the meticulous fans, again, there will be tiny little details. Personally, I think the packaging is really beautiful, although they have slightly altered the features on the photos by the amazing Paolo Roversi. You can see the photo in the inlay inside is an original photo. The one on the cover has slightly different, more modern look. Also, in the liner notes, it says that the song Love Won't Wait was released probably recorded in late 1993. Well, I can actually clarify that it wasn't around that time. Madonna finished the Girly Show tour on the 10th of December in Japan in 1993, and then went to Los Angeles, returning all the way from Asia, and then spent Christmas and the holidays in Miami, rested for a while, and then first did I'll Remember with Patrick Leonard in Los Angeles before moving to New York, where she started working with Shep Pettibone, probably around February. That's when this song and the other songs that she discarded were done. And then in the spring, she started working first with Babyface, and then Dallas Austin, and then Dave Jamal, and finally with Neil Hooper, and finished her album around her birthday in August. But again, it can never be perfect. I'm very grateful for the things she's putting out and super excited for the new one that is coming. We can't wait to hear and then see what the album has for us. So great stuff, always. And finally, I want to say again, I'm so blessed I have found Tomi Martin online and got in contact with him. And I'm grateful for his interview for my book, where you can find these and many other stories from him. Today, I'm even more grateful to be able to share some of those stories with you all and spread what a genuine person he is. I hope you enjoyed this first podcast, this first episode of the new series. There are more episodes coming up, more or less every 2 weeks. The next one will have a very special voice, one that sang with Madonna for 20 years. And if you're a Madonna fan like me, you know who it is. But to quote Madonna, she's got half of her name and she's got the second half. Plus, she lives in the valley. Quoting Blonde Ambition anyway. Till then, stay tuned and let's keep in touch via Instagram. Let's keep talking of Madonna's music. Yes, on Madonna's songbook, it's all about the music. Leave the chatter behind. Let the music take control.